So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to our weekly Bhagavad Gita session. Topic for today is Krishna, the original person. And we intended to discuss this topic last Sunday. However, we couldn't progress beyond first verse. So, we will do a quick recap of that and then we'll proceed with the rest of the topic for today's discussion. So, we were considering discussing verses from chapter 10 and so chapter 10 in chapter 9 we also did a quick recap of how Krishna was speaking out of love, how Krishna was speaking out of ecstasy that he was feeling for his dear devotee Arjuna. So the entire 9th chapter, the last section of entire 9th chapter contained all the verses which Krishna spoke out of that ecstasy, a loving ecstasy towards Arjuna. He was feeling that Arjuna, he was extremely happy, delighted that Arjuna has delighted to present the path of bhakti to Arjuna, that to be the supreme path. So prior to that, he had explained him the concept of soul, that the killing people, you can't kill people. People are soul, and the very nature of soul is that they are eternal. The soul is eternal, so nobody can you, even if you wish, you cannot kill the soul. Soul is my part and parcel. So I am eternal, soul is eternal, unborn. So soul cannot be killed. So what will get killed is, however, the body, and that body is anyway meant for destruction, because that is created using the material elements which are anyway temporary. So everything around us in the world changes. The oceans are changing, the mountains are changing. What to speak of our material body, that is also changing every minute, every second. And so from the moment we are born, we grow, we become we grow, and then we reproduce, we dwindle, and we get disease, and then we just die, and the body get destroyed. When the body gets destroyed, when the body becomes useless, simply how, what we do with our car or our torn shirt, soul does the same to our body. So he gives up the old and useless body and acquires a new body. So there is a journey. Soul is on a multi-life journey. Now that journey has to have a destination. And so what is that destination? That is revealed in the subsequent chapters, starting from chapter 4. So Krishna has been explaining Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita so far that please learn who you are, please find out who you are, what is your real nature is, and then act accordingly. Actions, so you will have to perform. So the chapter 3 and chapter 4 are dedicated towards that action, that if one chooses to act in the material world, how one should act. The yajnarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. That you should only perform activities for the satisfaction of Yajna Purusha. Yajna Purush, that is Krishna himself. Now here it is not revealed. He doesn't say directly that should perform activities for my benefit, for my satisfaction, because at this stage in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has not predominantly established himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And hence he used a word, yajnarthat karmano anyatra, that unless you perform in the mood of sacrifice, any action which is not performed in the mood of sacrifice, for the sacrificial fire as a ahuti, which means if anything is done for sense enjoyment, self enjoyment, my own satisfaction, that is binding. That kind of action produces a result, and for that result, shubha or ashubha, we have to take birth again. That becomes the cause of bondage. It's a very significant instruction, that whatever you do it as an offering to me. And he say that very specifically in the 9th chapter, that tat kurushva madarpana. Whatever you do do it as an offering to me. But in the third chapter, it's not revealed very categorically. But while summarizing third chapter in the 30th verse, Krishna says that that you do it as an offering to me, do it for me, and then you will be freed from all the reactions. So here the emphasis is not bhakti. Emphasis is still karma kand, karma yoga, and how one can best perform activities is the focus of discussion. Fourth chapter, Krishna introduces himself that and establishes himself that he does not belong to the he is not bound by the world, the rules of this world, and in fact he is the one who is lord of this world, lord of this entire universe. So he is beyond, he is outside the scope of rules and regulations which are applicable commonly to this world, and that he establishes. And then he says, I appear. And yesterday we in the yesterday evening we discussed about his disappearances, but here Krishna says that I appear by my own free will. I do we appear by the force, by force of our karma, by force of the fruits which have become accrued for our either enjoyment or suffering. And uh, and we have been forced into the womb of a mother. We and that who she is, we figure out after we come out. And then wherever we we are given some qualities, we are some abilities, we are given some talents, we are given some particular type of indriya, we are given some particular type of intelligence, and using which we try to live our life and fulfill our unfulfilled desires which have been brought forward from the earlier years, earlier earlier births. And then our journey continues. But Krishna says, I appear. uh, you don't appear, Arjuna, I appear. And I appear for the vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya. And whenever to save my devotees, to destroy the miscreants, punish the miscreants, and to re-establish the order of dharma. And when I appear, I perform various activities, different types of activities I keep performing. And I come not only in just one avatar, I come in multiple incarnation. And the activities which are performed by me are astonishing, are विस्मय कारक है और बहुत ही अद्भुत है, अद्भुत. एंड अद्भुत होने के कारण दे आर ट्रांसेंडेंटल, दे आर टॉक्ड अबाउट बाय पीपल. दे I reciprocate with the devotees who are present, and I create narration for generations to come after that, so that they can hear and they can get purified and they can develop attachment towards me, and they can ultimately develop a desire to come to me, and finally they can come to me. So this is a simple program that Krishna is trying to carry out by his appearances and by his activities. Having spoken this, he also discussed about dhyana yoga, not to rule out anything. That if Arjuna was trying to tell him that let me go to jungle, let me perform austerities. And there is a beautiful story which comes in Bhagavatam of Priyavrata Maharaj, where Priyavrata Maharaj was a Mahabhagavat. Priyavrata Maharaj is Mahabhagavat, Atmaram. The person, he was the one who was also instructed by none other than Narad Muni when he was very small, and then he was a Virakta. He did not wanted to get into the material life of didn't wanted to get married and fall into the trap of Maya, and he wanted directly to perform bhajana kriya and attain Lord. So his father Swayambhu was trying to give him the kingdom, and then he started thinking. He ordered that you accept the kingdom and become king and start carrying out your activities as a king, and let me go and do bhajan. Let me go to the Vanaprastha ashram, and I will go to the forest, and I will start performing. I will I'll engage myself in the bhajan while you take care of the kingdom. And they had a vast kingdom, Swayambhu Manu. Now Priyavrata he starts thinking whether to accept or not to accept his order of his father. And it is said, parents and guru's order cannot be, you should not contemplate, you should just accept. When Guru orders something, your father orders something, you should just accept. And if you don't, then that's offense. And but he is a Bhagavata, he's a Vaishnava. So he starts thinking, ki, should I accept or should I not accept? If I get entangled, I can get entangled into the material world. So why to why knowingly why to make a mistake? Had just किसी को पता ही नहीं होता है what could be the problems of material existence. And in that, such a person accept such a grahastha ashram, and then performs, and then find out later that मैं अच्छा ही था पहले. If that kind of a virakti is there, then with knowledge, why to do something which you are not comfortable with? So then so that was the contemplation that he was going on. And then to convince him to accept this order of his father, Brahmaji appears, and then he explains that if you are a Jitendriya, then the material world cannot harm you, cannot cannot deviate you from your bhakti, can keep you fixed in your bhakti in spite of being in the material life, in spite of having family, in spite of having children, in spite of performing all administrative activities that you might have to do as a king. Despite of all this, if you have control over your senses, if you are a Jitendriya, then the material world cannot harm you. However, if you have not conquered your mind, अपने मन को नहीं जीता है, तो आपको वन में जाके भी कोई सहायता नहीं मिलेगी. Because even in the forest, you will be living with 6 wives, 1 mind and 5 gyanendriyas. So you will always be contemplating on the sense object, even by sitting in the midst of a forest, not surrounded by anybody. But if your mind is not in your control, then even a forest cannot help you concentrate on Lord. But if your mind is in your control, if you are a Jitendriya, then no nothing can harm you. So Arjuna had expressed his desire to go to forest and perform austerities, becoming sannyasi, rather than killing all his relatives. So Krishna discussed in very elaborate manner in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita what is the outcome of that yogi, what happens to that yogi, and how difficult this task is to become a yogi in the first place. And to perform yoga sadhana is again very difficult. And finally the fruit that you get is also very temporary, it's not fulfilling. So if overall this whole program is self-defeating, so one should not pursue this. And then in the last verse of the 6th chapter he says bhakti is better. I consider anybody who is performing bhakti is superior amongst all the yogis. Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam समयुक्त तो ममतः. सो श्रद्धावान जो मुझे श्रद्धा से जो मेरा भजन करते हैं, श्रद्धावान भजते यो माम, I think consider that yogi to be the supreme most yogi. So we have discussed about the karma yogis, the jnana yogis, and dhyana yogis. All the three, amongst all three, the bhakti yogi is a supreme. And then bhakti yogi has to have an object of bhakti. So Krishna, starting from the 7th verse, first verse, he present himself as the final ultimate object of that bhakti. Bhakti करनी है तो क्यों करनी है? At the end of our life, what do we wish to achieve? हम job करते हैं तो क्यों करते हैं? At the end of month, we want salary, we want promotion, we want bonus. So we have targets, we have certain clear objectives to achieve, for which we work hard for one whole month or one full year. But when we perform bhakti, again, bhakti involves actions. Bhakti is not ordinary activity. Bhakti requires great determination. Bhakti requires us to be very disciplined, to be very committed, to get up every day early in the morning, get up, take bath, and then chant once around. Chanting for 2 hours immediately does not give us benefit, may not give us benefit. So for an outsider, it may appear to be a mundane waste of time kind of an activity, but so devotee has to take up this practices with a lot of faith and determination, and remain patient also during the performance of sadhana. So इतना सब कुछ अगर करना है, इतना सब कुछ, इतनी मेहनत है, so उसका फल भी तो पता होना चाहिए. What is the fruit that one is going to get at the end of one's life? If I may perform bhakti throughout my life, what is it that I'm going to get? And Krishna gives that as present himself as the objective. That he says, uh, by getting attached to me, by performing sadhana bhakti without deviation and wholeheartedly, you will attain me. And that begins everything. For that, whatever has to happen, it all begins with hearing. So you first hear from sadhus, hear from devotees, and then they cultivate knowledge. With knowledge, you become free from doubt. Then in your that condition, you are able to perform sadhana bhakti properly with full faith, wholeheartedly. Once you do that, you attend test for bhakti. You attend, you get experience spiritual bliss, you experience spiritual happiness. And when you do that, your faith turns into conviction, and that with that conviction, when you progress further in bhakti, you attain Krishna. You can remember Krishna at the end of your life, and you can attain Krishna. And that is the ultimate goal that Krishna presents himself as the goal. That Krishna, you don't have to go to God for something. You can to make God your objective, make God, Krishna, your goal. And for that, you perform bhakti wholeheartedly. And that's why, and then Krishna says, then if you become devotee, Krishna becomes extremely happy. If anyone becomes devotee, Krishna becomes extremely delighted. And then Krishna says, "Kaun ban sakta hai manusyanam sahasreshu." Out of thousands and thousands of men, only one may consider this kind of a path, and out of that, one may progress. One may make gradual progress in the bhakti yoga if based on one's capacity. And at the end of millions of lifetime, one may think on their own that Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha Bahunam Janmanam Ante. So many births, one may come to this conclusion that Vasudevam Sarvamiti. So Vasudev Krishna ही सब कुछ है. और ये conclusion when you draw, at that time you fully surrender to Krishna. Now one may take millions of lifetime to be able to come to this conclusion, with whichever path of bhakti they are following, or one may accept this simple fact today itself at this very moment, and then perform the devotional service in a wholehearted manner to that Lord Vasudev, and attain the same benefit in this birth itself. So the choice is ours. Choice is ours, and the trade-off happens between two sides, where either where you are either where on one side you have your material attachments and material desires on one hand, and on the other hand you have Krishna, attachment to Krishna and attachment to our own sense desires, sense objects. And whichever is a stronger, that wins, that you are able to do that very easily. The sense object, our attachment to sense object is there because we have been doing it for millions and millions of lifetimes. So that is not going to go easily. What we can rather cultivate is attachment to Krishna. Now that is our choice. With our choice, we can deliberately cultivate our attachment to Krishna. And as our attachment grows, our detachment will come for the sense enjoyment. We will still be eating food, we will still be wearing clothes, we will still be living in homes. However, we will not get entangled into it. Will not consider that to be the goal of our life. From moving from 1 BHK to 2 BHK or 5 BHK cannot become our goal of life. Our goal of life will continue to be Krishna. So Prevarta Maharaj accepted kingdom. He had wives, he had produced children, but he did it as a service to Krishna, not for his own enjoyment. So, and he remained Mahabhagat all throughout his life and attained Krishna at the end of his life. So, so this way we understand that Krishna should be made made the goal of our life. And Krishna, if once that happens, then you become a devotee, and then once you become a devotee, Krishna gets excited. Krishna feels extremely delighted with you becoming a devotee, and then he elaborately explain what are the benefits of becoming a devotee, how glorious his devotees are, how indebted he becomes to his devotees when in front of his devotees, how helpless Krishna himself becomes. Krishna says, "Whoever offer me with love and devotion, I accept. I am forced to accept. Not that I wish to. I am hungry because of which I accept, but whatever they offer with love and devotion, I come and accept it. I'm forced to accept it." And that's such a big commitment. And then he goes on further to elaborate in various verses which come subsequent to that, that whatever, even if such a devotee makes any mistake, I don't care. I will I will quickly purify that devotee, and I will again, the devotee, all that devotee has to do is to just remain in service of me, remain in constant engagement of me. If he does that, in spite of he making any big mistake, any, so we cannot do anything with which Krishna will get pissed off with us. Krishna will say, "Oh, I'll have to give up on this guy or girl." There is nothing in our capacity to do anything with which Krishna will become displeased with us so much so that he will leave us and go away. He will never leave us and he will never go away. He doesn't do that even for papis or those sinful people. What to speak of his devotees? He says, what, no matter how bigger offense that you commit, I will take you quickly back on the path of bhakti. I will create so much situation around you. I will give you so much spiritual inputs. I will provide so much spiritual facility for you to practice bhakti that you will quickly come back to the path of bhakti again, even if you deviate a little bit or a big way. So you cannot do anything. It is not in our capacity to do anything with which Krishna can become permanently displeased with us. So with devotees, so he himself is trying to reclaim though his devotees back. So he will never leave us. So we don't have to worry what will happen to us, even if despite of we making mistake. But we don't take pleasure in that. That is Krishna's love for us, with which he says that no matter what you do, I will save you. And there are various verses that yoga kshema mahamayam, my devotees will never perish. Various other verses Krishna says suduracharu, pichu suduracharu, and multiple verses Krishna explains that this he commits this from his end, but devotee also become committal from his end. Devotee also wants to commit from his end that Krishna is good, because of which he's giving those commitments, but I need to match him as well, because love is reciprocal. Love is a relationship. Both of them need to do something for each other. Both of them should do something for each other. And from our side, we commit to Krishna that we will not fall down. We will not leave him as well. And we will remain fixed on the path of bhakti, on the path of remembrance of Krishna, by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by serving devotees, and by serving Lord, and by staying in association of devotees, hearing. So the 10th chapter begins with this important verse, Bhuya eva mahabaho shunu me paramam vacha yattehim priyamanaya vakshami hitakamyaya. Krishna is saying immediately that I'm speaking this knowledge to you because with your because I'm your well wisher. I desire for your hita. I want your I'm your best. I want your benefit. Your I want you to benefit out of this. That's why I'm speaking. And why I'm speaking for your benefit, because you are priya. आप मेरे प्रिय हो. और इसीलिए व्हाट आई एम स्पीकिंग परमम वच, ये कोई ऑर्डिनरी बात नहीं कह रहा हूं मैं. आई एम नॉट स्पीकिंग समथिंग गॉसिप. आई एम स्पीकिंग परमम वच. ये इसी को पहले 9वें अध्याय में कृष्ण ने बोला था, राजगुह्यम राजविद्या राजगुह्यम. दिस इज किंग ऑफ नॉलेज एंड दिस इज द किंग ऑफ most confidential knowledge also. It's not available with everyone. So you should now, why will say like this because one want to catch your attention. Now this is very important, and then everybody's mind is tuned कि क्या कुछ important बात आ रही है, so let me pay attention. And similarly Krishna uses that technique and says that this is very important. So shunu o Mahabaho, please listen o Mahabaho, ये मैं परम वचन जो बोल रहा हूँ, because you are very priya to me and ये आपके हितकारक है. Arjuna had asked that tell me what is Shreya for me. यत् श्रेयस्यानिश्चितं ब्रूहितन्वे, आप निश्चित करके मुझे बताइए ब्रूहितन्वे कि श्रेय क्या है. What is the Shreya is hita. What is best for me? Krishna says, I'm going to tell you that now. And then that's what Prabhupada explains in the purport. We discuss this briefly. I will go through this and then we'll go to the today's topic. So Prabhupada has explained that established devotion. Devotion is not a devotion is a sentiment. Bhakti is a sentiment based on factual knowledge, not just feeling or emotions. Now, this is very significant statement that Prabhupada has made. That that knowledge about Krishna comes in two parts: knowledge about his Aishwarya and knowledge about his Madhurya. The previous 9th chapter explained knowledge in the mood of Madhurya. That how Krishna can do anything for his devotees. So that's very sweet, and that's all. This is what has been established in his Bala Lila in Vrindavan, that he could do anything for his devotees. His cowherd boys would get into trouble, and he will do anything to save them. The elderly gopis used to make him sing and dance, and for a small portion of butter. And he was happily doing that. He was dancing with gopis for their pleasure, and so on and so forth. So various pastimes that Krishna performed demonstrate his sweetness, and also simultaneously demonstrate his greatness, because he could lift Govardhan Will. He could kill a Ghasur, a giant mountain like Aghasur, a mountain like monster called Aghasur, and then Trinavarta, and then Putana, and just list goes on. So he could do astonishing things for saving his devotees. Now there is a Aishwarya and there is a Madhurya. Both moods are fully displayed in the Vrindavan pastimes. So so these pastimes need to be heard. Anybody who aspires to be a devotee, they need to hear about Krishna. They need to hear about Krishna, and Prabhupada says that they must hear about Krishna in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. The discourses in the society, Prabhupada says in the purport that discourse means discussion about Krishna, discussion about his form, his activities, his qualities, his pastimes. All those discussions should occur, take place among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Now, last session we discussed the difference between the devotees and non-devotees. If we discuss Krishna Katha with devotees, what happens? If we discuss it with non-devotees, what happens? And this is what we came up with. There were various points which everyone contributed, and end of it, we came up with this kind of a table which kind of summarizes everything, that why it is dangerous to discuss Krishna Katha with non-devotees, and how it is beneficial to discuss Krishna Katha with devotees. So the conclusion was we should always stay in association of devotees and discuss Krishna Katha. Non-devotees, there's an important quality that non-devotees demonstrate, is that they are envious of Krishna. They are so they all want to become Krishna. They all want to control. They all want to enjoy. Now this is and they have these desires to control, desire to enjoy, makes them competitors of Krishna rather than servants of Krishna. Loving servants of Krishna are not competitors of Krishna. They can't be in both boats simultaneously. You have to pick one. You have to be either choose to be a controller and enjoyer in your own way, and thereby you become a competition to Krishna, or you can become servant of Krishna, a loving servant of Krishna, wherein whatever comes your way with Krishna's will, you accept, be it good, be it bad, be it ugly. You accept and you continue to serve Krishna. Now, Krishna is so merciful. Krishna takes care of his devotees. Obviously, he doesn't leave his devotees in distress all the time, but there could be distresses and there could be sufferings, or there could be enjoyments. Both will come even in a devotee's way, but he will accept both as Krishna's will and he will continue to serve, love and serve Krishna. On the other hand, non-devotees, obviously they are envious of Krishna, they are competitors of Krishna, they want to become Krishna in their own small way, and all their successes they consider are their achievements, and all their failures they want to blame it on Krishna. They want to blame it on somebody. If they can't find somebody, they will blame it on God, they will blame it on nature. But so this is the uh, dual attitude of a non-devotee, and thereby non-devotees cannot understand Krishna's pastimes. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna's nature, Krishna's love for us. He cannot appreciate. He can't be even grateful for what Krishna has given us. So with that ungratefulness, with that arrogance, with that envy, any discussion that a non-devotee does about Krishna becomes an impediment for them for spiritual progress, or for their path to return to Krishna becomes more difficult more they discuss about Krishna. And that's the learning that we've had. These are some of the verses which Krishna has spoken prior to this in the Bhagavad Gita, wherein he says that there are people who are envious of me and there are people who are in love with me. Yajna Shishta Sina Santo. Santo means Prabhupada translates Santa as people who, those devotees who are in love with Krishna. And those are the one category, and this is another category who are anusuyave, who are idam tete gahyatamam pravaksham anusuyave. Because you are non-envious of me, I am telling you this knowledge, which means there are people who are envious of Krishna as well. And for them, Krishna does not share any knowledge. Krishna does not give anything. So this brings us to an important point that we know now we have to associate with devotees and hear Krishna Katha. To associate with devotees, one should find out who those devotees are, identify why it is first of all important to identify a serious devotee, and how to recognize them in this world. This is the question for today's discussion. And just like these kids are doing, we can raise hands. So two important questions. So why it is important to identify serious devotees? Now, everybody may appear like a devotee. So should we consider everyone as a devotee, as a pure devotee, as a serious devotee, or can there be categories, and how to recognize them? This is a question for today's discussion. Please start raising hand and request everyone to contribute. Yes, so two questions. Why it is important to identify a serious devotee? Now, Prabhupada says anxious, those who are anxious to become Krishna conscious, we should discuss with them. And anxious is really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness, we should discuss them. So those are the devotees. Those might not be pure devotees, and but they are very anxious to become pure devotees. They are anxious to become sincere devotees. They are very anxious to become serious devotees. They want to be committed to the path of bhakti. And so this is one type of devotees. Now, Prabhupada is recommending that we should discuss with these devotees. So obviously there are some benefits by discussing with such devotees. And first of all, and then secondly, how do we identify them? How do we look up for them? Where can we find them? Will they have a tag, name tag as in front of them, that serious devotee, not so serious devotee? How do we know? Everyone may wear a dhoti kurta and with a tilak and beadbag in their neck, will move around. Can there be categories? At one level, or does everyone who is wearing saffron is a serious devotee of Lord? And we don't just limit ourselves to ISKCON in general, but in general in society, we go to any dham, we find everyone different type of people, different type of sadhu, different type of babas, different type of bhaktas are seen, and everybody claims to be a serious devotee. Can there be any symptoms? Can there be any externally? How can we identify anybody as a serious devotee? Yes, Vikas Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam.
Yes.
So, Prabhuji, it was means in ISKCON Juhu once His Grace Atul Krishna Prabhu was giving lecture from Chaitanya Charitamrit, rather Chaitanya Bhagavat, and he was explaining that this is in context to first question, Prabhuji, that why we should find the serious devotees. Then he was explaining that we have not got the great lifetimes that in which we can make experiments and then try to find, okay, if this is not working, I can go to that, and so on. First is that we don't have the such a big lifetime that in which we can keep experimenting with the life, that okay, in case this particular group is not working for me in devotional service, I'll go to the next, and then next. So that is why we should try to find the serious devotees of Krishna, so that they can just our time utilized in the devotional service can be best utilized, because it is not wasted. In like we find so many so-called babas who are not actually preaching us from the shastras, rather they are telling their own philosophy. So that is, in my opinion, goes to the first question. And second is, what are the symptoms of the uh, pure devotees or the serious devotees of Krishna? Are that Srila Prabhupada makes a good comment in this context, that he says that practice before you preach. So whatever that devotee is preaching to us, he is practically doing that in his life. Like if someone is telling us to follow the four regulative principle, he is doing that. He is telling us to chant 16 round, he is doing that. And then he is everything, whatever he is speaking, he is speaking from the Shastras. Means he is not speaking anything his own. And third is that he is all the time he is engaged, means in the discussion of Krishna. He will not be involved in the prajalpa, like His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj says that we should refrain from prajalpa. So that is one that is another quality of a serious and pure devotee of Krishna. And it goes on like that he just relishes the pastimes of Krishna, or pastime of the Lord only. He does not try to entertain himself with the other material talks and or the all any other socio-political discussions of the society.
Okay.
So I could recollect this much only. Yeah, thank you very much.
Sure, thank you so much, Roji. Hare Krishna. So three main points. Our time cannot, it should be best utilized. That's in one. That's why we should know. We should be on the lookout for serious devotees, and then practice before you preach. That's an important point that you mentioned. Then he relishes Krishna consciousness himself, and that's the third symptoms. So these are external symptoms that we are all trying to find out. How do we know if anybody is a serious devotee or not? Deepak Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Deepak Kumar Prabhu, please go ahead, unmute. Deepak Kumar Prabhu, you can unmute and speak. You want to contribute anything?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Sorry, I didn't get the question. I just hit the hand because I thought I have to show my seriousness. Like
Okay, so Prabhuji, हम discuss कर रहे हैं कि if we want to, why should we be worried about identifying a serious devotee? Why not consider everybody as serious? That's one. Externally जो दिखता है भक्तों जैसा, या कोई भी डिवोशी मतलब तिलक लगा के घूम रहा है, धोती पहन के घूम रहा है, तो why not consider everybody at par? Why should we be on the lookout? Because the one of the important point that Vikas Prabhu made is that because our time is short, हमारा समय जो है, our lifetime is short. Within that, the way when we came to bhakti, we could be at different stage of our life, so we cannot devote too much time in experimentation, गलत बाबा किधर गलत साधु के पीछे लग गए, तो एंड ऑफ ना उसको कुछ मिलेगा ना एंड ऑफ इट हमको कुछ मिलेगा, एंड आवर लाइफ टाइम विल बी वेस्टेड, एंड देन इट कैन बिकम वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर अस टू डू कोर्स करेक्शन एंड कम बैक ऑन द पाथ. सो that's one point that he made. And second question ये है कि हाउ डू वी आइडेंटिफाई एक्सटर्नली, हाउ डू वी नो कि ये सीरियस है नहीं है, उसके कुछ सिम्टम्स तो होंगे. हाउ कैन वी फाइंड आउट, बिकॉज बाहर से देख के कैसे हमको पता चलेगा कि कुछ तो सिम्टम्स होंगे उनके, कि पता चले कि ये सीरियस डिवोटी है और नहीं है. सो इफ यू हैव एनीथिंग यू कैन से, और वी कैन गो टू द नेक्स्ट स्पीकर. यू कैन कम बैक, यू कैन रेज योर हैंड अगेन, कम बैक.
अभी कुछ
ओके ओके, चंद्रामोहन प्रभु जी, हरे कृष्णा. Yeah, you can start.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I mean, overall, Vikas Prabhu has answered it, but I feel like we have a paucity of time. पता नहीं कितने जन्मों से ढूंढ रहे हैं, अगर इस जन्म में मिला है, तो it makes sense to make the best utilization of the time what we have. So it works for the devotee with whom we are getting aligned, and it works for us also. And if we properly utilize our time, we will be able to influence other people also who are looking to get the Krishna consciousness. And number two, how to identify serious devotee. जो एक तो 4 regulative principle हो गया. दूसरा, in life in general, if you see, जिसको काम, क्रोध, मोह ये सब बहुत easily affect करते हैं, so he certainly cannot be a devotee. So while we say that apparently पता नहीं चलता है, but धोती कुर्ता पहन के भी लोग बहुत गुस्सा होते हैं. You will be able to know in one झलक, भैया ये खाली मैंने public admiration के लिए बैठा हुआ है. He is not really into devotion, because जो वो बोलते हैं ना, I mean, a tree which is full of fruits will always be down. It will not be standing erect. A tree which is खोखला, it will be पूरा एकदम लंबा खड़ा होगा, वो झुकेगा नहीं कभी भी. And in every attitude of a pure devotee, he will express his complete surrender to Krishna. He will never tell you that I am a very senior devotee of 20 साल, तू तो कल का छोकरा है, तू कुछ नहीं जानता है. He will never make that comments. He knows that you are not aware, but he will give respect for you as a soul, and he will ensure that you also get into Krishna consciousness. Prabhuji, you are not audible.
Yeah, I'm still on mute. Yes, sorry. So yeah, couple of important points, Chandramohan Prabhu, you made. Is best utilized time that we have. Again, that's one of the I think predominant point that's that is coming up. Also, the external actions can tell us a little bit more about what that person is internally. Correct.
Yes.
Which is like but yes, at times externally also it can be deceptive also, and
Right.
we have an example of the king Vena in Bhagavatam, where brahmanas call him and they tell him that you have been leading a very sinful kingdom, you cannot run kingdom like this, you have to be a proper king. And then he refuses, he says, I am Vishnu, you should worship me, agar yajna karna hai to mere liye karo.
Right.
And then they had to kill him.
Right.
So they were not angry, but they killed him. So when Yudhishthir was Ajat Shatru,
Yeah.
but as a service he fought a war. So at times their actions can be deceptive. Srila Prabhupada used to become very angry at times.
Prabhuji,
However,
Prabhuji,
yeah,
I
but
have-
so externally their actions can be deceptive. But I take your point that
Prabhuji, I
Yes.
want to add just one line to that. I will be angry when somebody talks against Krishna. I will not be angry at a personal capacity. So if somebody is making comments against Krishna, against Vishnu, my anger is justified. But somebody is just telling me some passing remark, I get excited very easily. I'm certainly not a devotee. I'm certainly not a devotee.
Yeah. So again, within that, you made a distinction that if it is related to Krishna, it's justified. All devotees will get angry
Yeah.
when Krishna is criticized, but at their personal level, they will not mind.
Yes.
Which is fair. That's a
Yes.
fair comment.
Yes.
Anybody will go to the chat box. We have some comments there.
Prabhuji, I would like to say something.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Acha, Prabhuji, just like in a school, there are teachers who teaches the students. So in every era, there are already somebody is already in full knowledge of Krishna. So those people only pass on the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to the to the devotees who want to become pure devotees. So just like a teacher's role, there are devotees who are playing the role of teachers. So I feel that every era has got a pure devotees. Uh, at any point of time, there are pure devotees, and we have to follow them. So we are not the deciders. Actually, it is decided by. It is already. We have to take it for granted.
Okay, so Prabhuji is saying that we have to assume that devotees are pure rather than doubting
Yes.
them or judging them.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
that's a nice point. Yeah. Mandar Prabhu, you want to say something? Devotee is someone who is keen to know more about Krishna willingly without any force. That's a comment by Mandar Prabhu. Shilpa Mataji, please feel free to unmute, raise hand. I can unmute you if you want to contribute, or I can read your comments. So a pure devotee is someone who wants to make more devotees spread love and awareness of Krishna, a serious devotee. That's one comment. Twikal Mataji is saying that Prabhuji, once I heard during a session that sadhu is identified by hearing through ear, not by seeing through eyes. Okay, so externally it could be deceptive. However, one has to hear them, and then we can conclude if one is sadhu or not. That's a nice comment. Any other last comment? We go back to our slides. Okay, no more.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhuji. So as the comments were coming from like Chandraman Prabhu, Sainath Prabhuji, and the story comes of Baba Gaur Kishorji Maharaj, and he was just a kind of avdut, though he was a great Vaishnava, but he was behaving in a avdut manner. So that to some extent that is also correct, that by just simply seeing we can't just appreciate whether he is a pure devotee or not, but just by following his actions, that whether he is immersed into the consciousness of Krishna, then also it can be made very easily to distinct between whether he's a devotee or he is just a show-off person. Like Srila Prabhupada just once instructed his disciples that one of the person was coming to temple and he was just trying to show that he is in ecstasy. And Srila Prabhupada told the disciples, just whenever he comes next time, just beat him with the stick. And you will come to know whether he is purely ecstatic or means if still he is dancing after even getting beaten, and then he is a pure devotee. Otherwise, so means the actions and the guidance given by like our Shastra, Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. If Guru is not available, Sadhu and Shastra are always available. If he is in line with that, we can consider him that he is a devotee. Though externally he may sometimes appear to be angry. Like His Grace Narottam Priya Prabhuji gives example that I at times get angry with someone or with my kids or like that. So this happens in the means the earlier time, but actually still he is to be considered as a pure devotee only because he is preaching the consciousness of Krishna and he is not deviating on that path. As Chandramohan Prabhuji clarified that the example comes of Hanumanji. He was angry just for the actions of in favor of Lord Ram. So in that way also we can just identify that whether
Sure,
he is a pure
sure.
devotee or not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
a lot of unpack, a lot of thing came up on one comment, but yeah, so in nutshell, I think what we can say is that it is possible. In general, we can conclude that it is possible by even looking at the external of a person to identify, to consider, to because this identification is crucial, because as a lot of you said already that our time should be best utilized, and we don't want to be cheated in the path of bhakti as well. What we are also committing ourselves, our time, effort, money and resources and our own consciousness, we are our own mind, our own intelligence, we are committing, we are investing. Mana Krishna Nivishate. So we also want to be 100% sure that the path is right. How much I am able to walk on the path depends upon my commitment, my sincerity, and my seriousness. However, I don't want to walk on the wrong path with great speed to realize that this is going nowhere. Rather, I'll be on the right path, and then my progress will be. I'll just hope that my progress happens as much as my you know, if I'm on the right path, even if I make slow progress or make fast progress, I'm moving towards my goal. I'm moving towards my object. So that's the benefit of being on the right path. And hence it is extremely critical to be aware that we are amongst those devotees. We are talking the philosophy which makes sense and which has benefited people in past, and it will benefit us also if we follow it seriously. So this is the first. Then secondly, there are so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pastimes are very special, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is uh, described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that when the Krishna Katha would begin, he would cry. He would cry in ecstasy. He cry in separation of Krishna. He would experience the separation of Krishna, which was felt by Radharani. And there would be torrents of rain, like ashru, that will come out of his eyes. And that's very, and he will, so he will go in samadhi. He will demonstrate that physically he would be present here, but mentally he could be speaking something else. He could be in some other, he could be participating in some other pastime going on in some other planet, and he would speak something which is not understood even by the people, the most close associates that were present with him at that time. So many such pastimes are described for Lord Chaitanya, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrate this demonstrate these qualities of externally uh, ex- those qualities by which anybody can understand that he is in extreme love for Krishna. He is in extreme love for Krishna, and he is experiencing the higher spiritual ecstasy that one can experience, the bhava or prema bhakti that can one experience, and he's actually experiencing it. And he's not only experiencing it, he's distributing it to others also. Now, if you think about uh, these things, crying in public, going in samadhi. Now, these things one can actually feel and one can actually fake out. It is easy to fake out also. So one need to be very careful with how can one conclude that what we are seeing is a display or a demonstration of genuine love for Krishna or not. So Rupa Goswami, who was Nitya associate of Lord Chaitanya, he gave us a very beautiful summary in this regard, and we will take a look at that. So Rupa Goswami was initiated by Lord Chaitanya, and he was instructed by Lord Chaitanya. He went to Vrindavan. He was sent to Vrindavan. He was in a service of a Muslim king in Bengal. He and his elder brother Sanatan Goswami both were asked to retire at some stage and go to Vrindavan. And he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met both brothers in different places, one in Varanasi, one in Prayagraj, and gave instructions. And Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, who wrote books, documented all the literature in Sanskrit, sitting in Vrindavan, and then that is what is available to us today. And so that's so one of the important theme that he explains in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu book, or a Nectar of Devotion book, is this: that externally sometimes it is possible to fake some of the Mahabhav, or Mahabhav expressed by Mahabhagavata, wherein he's crying, he's showing, he's fainting with ecstasy, or he goes in samadhi and speak about some pastimes of Lord suddenly out of nowhere. And so these and some other are very can be the pastimes, can be the symptoms demonstrated by very very exalted devotees, Mahabhagavatas. And they unfortunately can also be copied by pretenders, by those who want to fake themselves as sannyasis or as big sadhus. These can be faked by them because you can act in that way. Acting भी कर सकते हैं इस चीजों की. So, but Rupa Goswami gives some 9 principles which are so those, there can be a element of doubt. If you see somebody somewhere doing that, there can be an element of doubt whether it's really happening in front of you or it's fake. But these 9 principles that Rupa Goswami provide cannot be are extremely difficult to imitate, or they cannot be imitated. Only a genuine person can can demonstrate these activities, this through his own actions. So which are those? The pure devotee, or tangible evidence which can be seen externally also. You don't have to know that person for a long time to understand what he's doing. So the tangible evidences of anyone who has developed ecstatic love for Krishna are as below. And they are not just 9, but Rupa Goswami has summarized them in these 9 points. So one should be anxious to utilize his time in service of Lord. No prajalpa, somebody mentioned. That's very important. If you are a serious devotee, if you are a sincere devotee, you will want to give each and every your moment of your awake time to Krishna, and you will not want to sleep for more than 6-7 hours as well. Not that you want to sleep for 12 hours and then say only have 12 hours time available. Not like that, but every moment, 24 hours, he wants to utilize his time in service of Krishna. Always reserved and preservant. He does not want to talk. Again, come example of Jada Bharat. Jada Bharat acted in the material world. After having goofed up as Bharat Maharaj, he gave up his god-like kingdom, Indra-like kingdom. He gave up with his wives, and he was very young when he went to decide to go to Vanaprastha. So, he was so renounced that it is described that as one give up one's stool, he gave up the kingdom and family and everything else to go to jungle to accept to perform Krishna consciousness, to get absorbed himself in the remembrance of Lord. He gave up his kingdom and his son, his wives, his wealth, his power, his relatives, his praja. He gave up everything just like as easily as one may give up one stool. And after going in jungle, he got attached to a baby deer, and he left his body remembering that deer, and ultimately got a body of a deer. In that, with Lord's mercy, he could remember that he was Bharat Maharaj in the previous life, and then he decided not to goof up again. So in the next life, after giving a deer body, he got a Brahmana body, and then that is body of a Jada Bharat. Jada Bharat was Brahmana, but his father would try to teach him Vedic principles. His brothers would make fun of him at times, but he was constantly in remembrance of Krishna. He didn't wanted to get into the entanglements of material life. Now that can be practiced, but should not be imitated by anybody. We may have people, because at our level we need to remain in material environment as well. We need to do our duties as well. But Bharat Maharaj, when he appeared as Jada Bharata, he refused to do anything. And he would be reserved, he would be preservant, and he would simply remain disconnected from the rest of reality. And he would always be in meditation of Krishna. At times, he was considered dumb and idiot by everyone. He was considered useless, and was not given any task, was not given any work. But he was elevated devotee always, and he was always remembering both his past births, that how much he progressed on the spiritual path as a Bharat Maharaj, and how he goofed it up and then got a body of a deer. He remembered both his births, so he was very cautious. Now again, this is the devotee can be very reserved from discussion on IPL, reserved from giving your expert comments on in politics, reserved from giving predicting stock market movements, reserved from, unless of course this happen to be your occupations, you may do that as an occupation to earn livelihood, but otherwise you need to be reserved. You don't have to be in all these things unless you happen to be working in that particular thing, in that particular field. But you have to be reserved, you have to be preservant, always detached from material attractions. Very can be externally observed. If one is attracted or distracted, detached from the material attractions, does not long for respect for his activities. Somebody mentioned this, that a fruit with a tree with loaded with fruit will be bent down not standing tall. That's true. Trunad api sunichena taror api sahishnana. So humility, it will have, and amanina manadena kirtaniyasana kirtaniyasada. So one will not long to get respect for one's own activities. Rather, one will be ready to give respect to everyone. Then fifth is always certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. Prabhupada is best example. Whichever situation, Prahlad Maharaj is another example. Whatever could be the situation, they their desire to love and serve Krishna never went away. They were always, whatever the situation Daiva was, the Krishna was presenting them, they were always thinking, how in this situation I will serve Krishna. What can I do for Krishna in this situation? How can I remember Krishna in this situation? So they are always eager to serve Krishna faithfully, no matter what their condition is. When Prabhupada was trying to preach when he had nothing, and Prabhupada was still trying to preach in 1977 when he had everything. He had 100 plus temples all around the world, and thousands of disciples. So practically he was like he practically had everything in the material life. Whatever one may have desired, he probably had everything. But he was constantly there. Also, he was busy serving Krishna in whichever way till the last day of his life. Till he had that consciousness, he was translating Brahma Samohan Leela of 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. So he never gave up service to Lord. He was always eager to serve Lord faithfully, no matter what condition he was in. Very much attached to chanting of holy name. Chanting cannot be done by somebody who is envious of Krishna. It's impossible for them to take Krishna's name in a loving manner. So chanting is, we are asking for service from Radharani, that please engage me in service of Radha Krishna. So this is something can be chanted only by a non-envious soul, and the pure devotees are attached to chanting. Narottam Prabhu yesterday explained that how Krishnananda Das Prabhuji, how he made him chant till 1 o'clock. And so of that, when he said probably he went as close as possible to the 64 round, chanting 64 rounds in a single day. So that was his realization. But there are so many devotees who are attached to chanting, and we see that in our chanting scorecard. Sometimes somebody chants 21 rounds, Ekadashi special more than 25 rounds, and we have so many devotees chanting those kind of rounds. The pure devotees are attached to chanting of holy name. Effortlessly they chant, they relish chanting, they every available opportunity they want to chant. And that's a eagerness, the attachment to chanting, always eager to describe transcendental qualities of the Lord. We are eager to describe our own qualities, or qualities of our children, or qualities of our wife, or qualities of our native place, whatever, everything associated with us is what we want to describe, and we want to glorify it, we want whole world to know it. But devotees are eager to describe qualities of the Lord. Very pleased to live in a place where Lord's pastime have taken place. If not live, at least very pleased to live in, visit those places of pastimes. So this October we will visit Vrindavan again for a longish yatra. All of you are requested to keep yourself available. The dates will come on the groups, but it's going to be 3rd week of October, probably the Diwali time. So let's spend Diwali with Lord Krishna, visiting his favorite places in Vrindavan and Mathura area, along with the devotees, along with Dinbandhu Prabhu, along with Devi Shakti Mataji, Narottam Prabhu, and so many other Vaishnavas. So please keep yourself free, and we shall soon announce those dates. And so the visiting, staying there permanently is great, but if not, at least one should be eager to visit the places of Lord's pastimes. And there can be nothing better than Vrindavan to visit. There's so much to discover, so much to know. The next verse, Krishna says, the Name Viduhu Suragana Prabhavam na Maharshayaha Adam Aham Adi Hi Devana Maharshinam cha Sarvashaha. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulence, for in every respect I am the source of demigods and sages. Another very significant statement made by Krishna. He says, nobody can know me. And it is stated in Brahma Samhita, the first verse, that Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Yesterday there was a question that how can we explain Krishna is Sarva Karana Karanam, the reason for every reason, and for him there is no reason. Now that's very simple. That so you drink a glass of milk, and then you try and find out reason for that glass to come there. The milk comes from cow. Cow eat grass. The grass is grown by rains. Rain come from Krishna, and Krishna comes from nowhere. Krishna is always there. So for every reasoning, every we try to trace origin of everything, from where everything originates, whichever things that could be in front of us. Glass of milk could be a small example, but wherever and whatever you try to find the origin of that, it all go and stop at Krishna. Everything comes from Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita says, Bhumirupo Nalo Vayu, the whole material world is, Krishna says, is my energy, is created by me, and is maintained by me, and is annihilated by me. So everything is done by Krishna. There is nothing other than Krishna in this material world. But this world is not Krishna. Krishna is separate. So these are Krishna's energy, and Krishna is independent of his energy, and he is separate also. So Brahma Samhita says that Krishna is supreme. No one is greater or equal to him, and he is the cause of all causes. He is the reason for everything. He is the reason why we are born. He is the reason why we are present. The whole world is present. The whole world is functioning. The the earth is rotating. Sun is moving. The winter, the seasons are changing, and star planets are moving, and our these magnanimous things to the smallest of the things, that whatever small desires we express in our mind, even those are recorded. Even those are recorded, and even if we smallest of the errors that we commit, even those are recorded. The smallest of the sinful or the pious activities that we perform, those are recorded. Those are not only recorded, their history is created, and according to those actions the fruits are awarded. And this whole system is working flawlessly. uh, no fault of there's no fault in the system. It's been seemingly working automatically, but it's working flawlessly in a perfect way, and it's been working for billions and billions and billions of years, and there is no error in this. So such a great our Lord is, and such a great is his prowess, that he has created this perfect system by which everything is functioning. So there is nothing greater than him, nothing even equal to him, what to speak of greater. So, and he is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated that by Lord personally, that he is the cause of all demigods and sages. Why demigods and sages? Because those could be otherwise misinterpreted as being objects of worship by some, say, devotees. Some devotees may think of Shiva or Indra to be, or Brahma to be the supreme object of worship. But Krishna says all of them, they are great, but they all come from me. The sages, similarly, some babas, what to speak of current babas of our times. Though, so Krishna says, all the sages also come from me. All the gods, demigods also come from me. Demigods are superior in terms of power, and sages are superior in terms of knowledge. So whichever way you look at it, the power and the opulence is with the demigods, the knowledge and the austerity and the devotion is with the sages. So whichever way you look at it, Krishna says, I'm superior to both of them, because I come before them. Everybody comes from me. So even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So what is the position of so-called scholars in this tiny planet? Anybody remembers this image? Yeah, please feel free to unmute and speak. No need to raise hand.
Three Idiots image, Prabhuji. The movie Three Idiots.
Yeah, what's happening?
It was the conclusive part. Actually, they were trying to find whether this gentleman, Amir Khan, playing the role, whether he's married or not. So they were just waiting for the conclusive part from him.
Oh, no. That was see, the series about they discover here that his actual name is Funsuk Wangdu. So
Yeah,
the see
yeah,
the astonishment in their faces is not because he's unmarried or married, because they actually discover that he is that Funsuk Wangdu who is a world famous scientist credited with more than 400 patents and signing many rich deals with many multinational companies, and they are all astonished. They never knew, and they just considered him to be their friend during engineering days. And but they after met him, and he himself reveals it, they didn't discover it from outside sources. Their another friend had come to sign a deal with the same Wangdu, and he didn't knew that he is the same Wangdu because he had a different name in his college and whatever. But here, when he reveals that he is that person, everybody is in a state of shock that are you the Funsuk Wangdu? And this is what the expression they're all having, that how can you be trying to, we never knew, and we did so much. We behave just like any other, how we would otherwise behave with any other friend with you, and you are such a great person. And this realization suddenly that their love for their own friend, it grew phenomenally. And this is a rough example what happens to us when we know about Krishna's Aishwarya and Krishna's Madhurya, Krishna's greatness and Krishna's sweetness. A grandson can learn about his grandfather not by external research, not by meditation, or not by meditating in his mind about his grandfather, not by externally observing his grandfather, either not by speculating. My grandfather must have been, okay, he's born in pre-independence era, he must have fought independence war, he must have done this. All that speculation will not lead him to proper conclusions. How we can learn? When he can ask simply, submissively to his grandfather to reveal himself to him. And when grandfather reveals himself, his grandson easily comes to know. He can explain him about his own childhood, his own experiences, his own activities, his own qualities, and then the grandson gets perfect knowledge. So this is best learned when it is revealed by grandfather himself. So actually we can understand, nobody can understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. One can attain Krishna, because when Krishna reveals himself, then only we can understand Krishna. We cannot understand Krishna by our own means, by our own tiny intelligence. Even the Devatas and Maharshis, who are considered to be the supreme living entities, even they cannot understand Krishna unless they receive mercy from Krishna. So Krishna can be understood only by Krishna's mercy, not by our own effort, our own endeavors. So the conception of God as some ruling power or as impersonal Brahman can be reached by persons who are in the inferior energy of the Lord. But personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. You cannot a God conception which is present in the entire world today is predominantly point us to a person who is very old, and who is extremely powerful, who can do anything. Now these two features are predominantly explained in all the major traditions in the world, be it Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, of course, and in any general religion practices that are present. These two things will be there. The God is old, very old. He's the oldest person, and hence whenever they want to depict God, they depict God as an old man. Some of the English movies might have seen that God is often demonstrated as an old man with white beard, and he carries a sword because he wants to punish something. So he has power, right? Power is demonstrated by showing a sword in his hand. So God is very old and God has power, and he's at the most, throwing his sword, or he's pointing sword to someone, and then a laser beam come out of his sword and somebody gets punished. That's a limited conception of God that is available in major religions, and nothing goes beyond that. And that is true at one level, that God is very old, but he is not old in the sense that it is old. He doesn't he never, Krishna never grew beyond नव यौवनम च. कृष्णा यौवन से वो कभी ऊपर गया ही नहीं. His highest age was probably 20 or 25. So though he's oldest, he never became old. So Krishna does not. So the concept or depiction of God as someone who had a white beard is wrong. Because this comes from our own material conception. When we in the material world, when we think of someone being old, we think of this, and that's why we come up with this conception. God has power. God is extremely powerful in this entire planet. On this planet, nobody is equal to him or greater than him. But that does not necessarily mean that God is sitting with a sword and keep punishing people. That's extremely boring job. And that Krishna has delegated, outsourced this to Maya Devi, and she's doing it perfectly. He doesn't have to do that. But because this only show God in a particular light, but God has different dimensions as well, which remain unexplored, which unless are explored, and these dimensions can only be known when these are revealed by Krishna himself. Now, because by seeing the world perfectly working, seeing the law of karma being perfectly in operation, one may feel that these two conceptions are easy to come, that ruling power and very old person. But nobody can understand Krishna by their own personal contemplation, that Krishna is a blackish blue boy, extremely beautiful, a very charming smile he has on his face. He wears a peacock feather on his head. He has very curly, beautiful black hairs. He carries a flute in his hand. He goes and herd cows. He's always seen with crowds or cowherd friends. He play, he steal butter, and now these are the conceptions of God, which nobody can come up with by their own contemplation, unless and until they are revealed by Krishna himself, by the God himself. And that's where the scriptures play an extremely important role in bringing these revelations to us. And Krishna, when Krishna was present, he will perform those activities which will get captured and be presented to us as scriptures. And Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are those scriptures which captures the words of Krishna and activities of Krishna. So only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto Supreme Lord can understand by the grace of Supreme Personality that he is Krishna. Out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand Krishna. We'll quickly see this verse and then we will wind up today's session with question answer. Yo mam jana, yo mam jama, yo mam ajama anadi cha veti loka maheshwaram asummadha sa martyeshu sarva papai pramuchate. Another very significant statement by Krishna, that ajam anadi, ajam and anadi, the two words Krishna has used, that one, he who knows me as unborn and as the beginningless. Ajo is unborn, Anadi is beginningless, as the Supreme Lord of all the worlds. Chaveti Loka Maheshwaram, that Lord of all the worlds, he only undeluded among men is freed from all sins. No one knows Krishna as is the Adipurusha. As stated in the 7th chapter, Krishna Prabhupada starts in the purport that as stated in the 7th chapter, 7.3, Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yapti Siddhaye, that those who are trying to elevate themselves to the platform of spiritual realization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men who have no knowledge of spiritual realization. Now, this is very significant point. In the world, there are so many people who are barely trying to make both ends meet. Then there are who are so barely able to find food for themselves, barely able to live for a month properly, live for a year properly. They take 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time, and does not have much savings, always live in tension, to create order in their life. They always live in tension, and such people very rarely have capacity to think about Krishna or think about God as a concept. Above them are those who are so-called middle class, the poor, the middle class, who are trying to improve their economic condition. So they've seen the poor, they consider themselves lucky than the poorers, but they consider themselves unlucky than the richest. And they all wish to elevate to that stage where they can enjoy superior facilities. They all wish to enjoy superior facilities. And above them are the richer class. So in between, the rich classes, again, they are rich in opulence, they are rich in opulence and knowledge both, using which they want to enjoy more and more, control more and more. So they are busy in that as well. Now, in these three broad category of people, who has time for inquiry of this make some basic inquiry, that who we really are, body, mind, or soul? Why are we suffering in this world? From where we come and where we are going after death? What is the purpose of life? While world is so much systematic, why death destroy or disturbs everything? And who really own and control this world? It's working, seems to be working under direction, but who is giving that direction? Now, this inquiry, Krishna says, Prabhupada says in the purport that one out of thousands may do these in basic inquiries, because those rest of the people are, they just don't care. They just don't have capacity to ask this kind of questions. Even if these come to their mind, they probably are not able to hold on to these questions, neither pursue them as well. So Prabhupada says that, but out of those actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one who can come to the understanding that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything, the unborn, is the most successful spiritually realized person. The in that stage only, when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, can one be free completely from all sinful reactions. This is the state all of us wish to achieve, to be completely free from sinful reactions. What is the precondition? That we need to come to our understanding that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and with full faith, full conviction, a proprietor of everything. So we shouldn't be attached to own multiple things. Unborn, that, and the most successful, that is the person most successful. So when you understand all this, you obviously become devotee of Krishna. You start loving and serving Krishna. When you do that, then you are the most successful person, spiritually realized person, successful spiritually realized person. And that stage you can become free from all sinful reactions. So this is a very long purport. We will quickly go through this, and will not waste, will not spend much time on it, but you all can go through this long purport. We'll see some important points from this, and then we'll go to the question answer session. Okay, here the Lord is described by the word Aja, means unborn, but he is distinct from the living entities who are also described Aja. Ajo Nitya Shashvatoyam Purano no Hanyate Hanyamani Sharire. In 20th verse, Krishna explains that living entities are also Aja. So Krishna says, I am also Aja. So what is the difference? Is there a difference? Yes. The difference is the Lord is different from the living entities who are taking birth and dying due to material attachment. So we take birth and we die because of our unfulfilled desires and unfulfilled, and the accumulated karma that we bring with us. So with that we take birth, unfulfilled desires, we die, and by then during that lifetime we would have committed more sins, more pious activities, for which we would have accrued fresh fruits. And with this we take fresh birth with fresh desires, unfulfilled desires, and the fresh fruits which are supposed to accrue. Now, and that's how our journey continues. The conditioned souls are changing their bodies, but Krishna's body is not changeable. Even when he comes to this material world, he comes as the same unborn. Therefore, in the 4th chapter, it is said by that that the Lord, by his internal potency, is not under the inferior material energy, but is always in the superior energy. He appeared by his own internal potency. And the fourth chapter, Krishna says that I don't change body, therefore I can remember all past lives. But that's not the case with you, and hence you don't remember everything. So in this verse, the word Veti Loka Maheshwaram indicates that one should know that Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of the planetary systems of the universe. He was existing before the creation, and he is different from creation. All the demigods were created within this material world, but as far as Krishna is concerned, it is said that he is not created. Therefore, Krishna is different even from the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. And because he is the creator of Brahma and Shiva and all other demigods, he is the supreme person of all planets. One should not try to understand Krishna as a human being. As stated previously, only a foolish person thinks him to be a human being. This is again expressed here in a different way. A man who is not foolish, who is unintelligent, who is intelligent enough to understand the constitutional position of Godhead, is always free from all sinful reactions. If Krishna is known as the son of Devaki, then how can he be unborn? That is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. When he appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva, he was not born as an ordinary child. He appeared in his original form, and then he transferred himself into an ordinary child. Anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. It cannot be contaminated by material reactions, which may be auspicious or inauspicious. So this is again the activities of Krishna consciousness, performing Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada is saying that whatever you do for Krishna is always auspicious. And otherwise, he says that the material world, there is nothing inauspicious. There is nothing auspicious. Everything is inauspicious. We feel some things are auspicious because we are under the influence of that material energy. But considering the material nature, everything is inauspicious. And the real auspiciousness depends on activities in Krishna consciousness, in full devotion and service. Therefore, if we at all want our activities to be auspicious, then we should work under the directions of the Supreme Lord. Such directions are given in authoritative scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, or from a bona fide spiritual master. So Guru Sadhu Shastra importance is again highlighted here. The instructions, as long as we are acting according to the Krishna's instructions, whatever we do as per Krishna's guidance, and that guidance come from the books such as Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So the principles are given in Bhagavad Gita, and how those case studies are given in Bhagavatam, where how those principles were actually put into action by some of his key devotees. That's explained in the Bhagavatam. Both and the Guru Sadhu Shastra, Guru and Sadhu are living life according to the instructions of Sri Krishna, and then only they are guiding. They have everything. They have scriptures which are transcendental. They have full faith, conviction in the scriptures. They are living their life according to the scriptures. They having done the sadhana bhakti at the lotus feet of Lord, they have been receiving mercy from Krishna. They're receivers of mercy from Krishna. Using that, and because of that mercy only, they understand Krishna, as it is explained in previous verses. So they are special people. The Guru and Sadhu are special persons. Devotees are special people because they get special mercy of Krishna, because of which they can understand Krishna. Dadami buddhi yogam tvam yena mam upayantite. So this additional intelligence which comes from Krishna is available to his dear devotees only. It's not ordinarily distributable. So once you get that, you get greater understanding of Krishna than anybody else might have. So the spiritual masters, saintly persons and scriptures direct in the same way. There is no contradiction in these three sources. All actions done under such direction are free from the reactions of pious or impious activities of this material world. Their transcendental attitude of the devotees in the performance of activities is actually that of renunciation, and that is called sannyasa. As stated in the first verse of the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one who acts as a matter of duty because he has been ordered to do so by Supreme Lord, and who does not seek shelter in the fruit of his activities is a true renouncer. Anyone acting under the direction of Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi, and not the man who has simply taken the dress of a sannyasi or a pseudo yogi. Again, bring the same point. Maharaj Priyavrata, though he was a Mahabhagavata, he was a sannyasi. He wanted to become a sannyasi. He didn't wanted to get married and rule a kingdom, which is a mundane activity, but to satisfy Supreme Lord, he accepted. He accepted this, not out of his own kamukta, not out of his own lusty nature that he got married. the he got married to fulfill desire of the Lord. Brahmaji, when he came, he explained that he is busy in the creation because that is the order of Supreme Lord for him. Shivji is busy in destruction because that is what Lord wants him to do. Naradji is busy in preaching because that is what Krishna wants him to do. Now, Krishna has different instructions, different expectations from different devotees. It's not same, but everybody essentially is working for Krishna. Their identity, their activities might not be and need not be identical to each other. The creation is different than destruction, but both are services to Krishna and both are devotees of Krishna. Preaching is different than becoming a king and having a wife, multiple wives, and having multiple children and ruling kingdom, fighting war. Now, these two are completely different things, but both things can be done as a service to Krishna. Maharaj Priyavrata, Maharaj Dhruv, Maharaj Prahlad, everybody became kings and because it was desire of Krishna. Now, this is how devotee conduct himself, as against somebody who is wearing a saffron dress, who is taking all the respect and the benefits that society may offer to a sannyasi, but does not have his mind under control, has not been able to purify himself of lusty desires that he might have had in past, is not pure enough to act like a sannyasi, and such person can commit mistakes. Such person can in the garb of a sannyasi, he can pretend to be a sannyasi and he can commit mistakes. He can commit mistakes, and that will unfortunate for himself, unfortunate also for the society. So even if such person goes to mountain or goes to jungle and lives there, he still can fall down from there also. The story of Ajamil, who was sent to jungle for picking up dry wood for some havan for by his father, happened to see a prostitute with a lover, and then his lusty desire, came up in such a way that he gave up his brahmanical life. He gave up he threw his father and his parents and his wife out of his home. He brought that prostitute in his home and started living with him, and finally ended up producing lots of children, committed all kind of sinful activities for maintaining her, and finally last son he named as Narayan, and at the time of death he chanted name Narayan and as a sannyasi. But the whole point is somebody can go to jungle and also fall down. The fall down may happen if your mind is out of your control, and for that you need not be living in a city. You may be in the jungle. Another story comes where Muni was in Vrindavan. He was performing austerities, tapasya, and by in the water of Jamuna, underwater he was performing a lot of austerities, and there he saw a fish mating with another fish, and there that triggered some lusty desires in him. He came out of water, he stopped his austerity, came out of water, and it is said that he not only just got married once, he had 50 wives. So sannyasi, any person who is not a jitendriya, any person who is mind is not under his control, anyone who is not surrendered to Krishna fully, for such person, going to forest also is useless, because there also he will continue to cultivate the same lusty desires that he had here. So going to forest also doesn't help. And anyone uh, who has conquered his mind, who has surrendered himself to Krishna, so is ready and willing to love and serve Krishna, do anything for Krishna. For such a person, staying in material life also is as good as staying as a sannyasi. So for him, even by living in the grahastha ashram also, he can actually act like a sannyasi. There's no difference. We'll, so there are two more verses which we will consider today, and I will be sending these verses translation to all of you. It's in the Word document. It's a very long purport. Now Krishna is saying here essentially that everything, in the 7th chapter, Krishna has explained that all the entire creation comes from him, but that's the non-living part of it. The material creation comes from him, which includes the Panchamahabhuta, the Bhumi, Rupa, Nalo, Vayu, and everything. All the planets come from him, and everything material comes from him. Now here talks about different qualities that comes from him. Now all these qualities, the intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt, delusion, and forgiveness, kshama, Kshama, Satyam, Dama, Shama, Sukham, Dukkham, Bhava, Abhava, Bhayam, Cha, Abhaya, Meva, Ahimsa, Samata, Tushti, and all these qualities, Tushtis, Tapo, Danam, Yasho, Ayasho, Bhavanti, Bhava, Bhutanam, Mat Eva, Pratigvadha. So all these qualities, all these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. So now he's taking the same discussion that he was started in the 7th chapter to a deeper level. Now the whole world comes from him, but the qualities that people demonstrate also comes from him. This is what he has said, and I'll send you a detail. Now Prabhupada has in the purport has explained each quality in a very very detailed manner, and we can read those in our during the week. I'll send that purport in the Word document to everyone. Now one wants to advance. Now for one who wants to advance in the Krishna consciousness, Krishna creates all these qualities, but the person develops them himself from within. One who engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord develops all the good qualities as arranged by the Supreme Lord. Of whatever we find, good or bad, the origin is Krishna. Nothing can manifest itself in this material world which is not in Krishna. So we can relate whatever we see in this world, we can relate it with Krishna. There is nothing in this world that we can find which is independent of Krishna. That is the knowledge. That is knowledge. Although we know that the things are differently situated, we should realize that everything flows from Krishna. To summarize, Krishna is the original person, the Adi Purusha. No one and nothing existed before him. Everyone and everything comes after him and was created by him. Hence, it is impossible for anyone to know Krishna fully unless Krishna reveals it to him. Krishna reveals himself only to those who are affectionately related with him in proportion to the surrender of a devotee. So you can have an affectionate disposition, you can have a loving disposition, but also you have your material attachments, and therefore you are not fully surrendered to Krishna. But so that to the degree that you are surrendered to him, he is ready to reciprocate. He wants to reciprocate, but he will reciprocate in proportion to the surrender of a devotee. As a practicing devotee, we should focus on performing devotional service in surrendered mood to attract Krishna's mercy by attracting mercy from Guru. So Krishna's mercy will come provided we have mercy from Guru. And why is that? Because Guru is one who is showing us Krishna. Guru is the one who is attaching us to Krishna. Guru is not in between us and Krishna. Guru is removing things which are in between us and Krishna. And therefore, Guru is assisting Krishna in his mission of bringing every soul back to Krishna. And therefore, whoever Guru recommends, Krishna accepts. So we may not get recommended by our own practice, but with Guru's recommendation, we can progress, we can go close to Krishna. So the facility for performing devotional service, morning japa, evening chad, the details are here. Feel free to use them and get benefit, stay benefited even during the week as well. So with this, we'll close today's session. So we have covered the first few verses of Bhagavad Gita. In the next session, we will cover Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Again, some one of the most beautiful section of Bhagavad Gita. Beautiful verses, beautiful purports, long relishable. I hope all of you can find time and join those sessions, that session as well. So we'll take some questions if there are any, or else we can close today's session.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the relishable discussion you have just given. And ultimately, we came to know means most of the aspects comes like, and personally, me, I am not aware about those. Like you mentioned that Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, 9 aspects of finding someone. So it's a good test. Like other acharyas also explained that we should means try to test the person to whom we are trying to accept the guru. But after that, there should be a firm devotion that now there is no this, that now he's 100%, that he is 100% my guru and I'll respect his orders. But before that means, as the aspect you covered, that the time will be wasted if we don't find the true or the pure devotee for accepting as spiritual master. So it was just wonderful. Like means the greatest service you are providing to all of us, and at least actually to me, that we are actually on the path. We can come to a path where we will not waste our time, and we will try to find the best person to guide us in this spiritual this spiritual journey of this life. And you are the beginner of that. Means you are, the journey has begun from you. So thank you very much, and all obeisances to you for doing the wonderful things in our life. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roji, for nice words. But yes, we are all walking the same path. That's a great part of it. and we all should be helping each other in whatever way we can.
And most help is coming from your side, Prabhuji, and least can be from our side.
No.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So if there are no, one question from Chandramantroji is, you can share how Krishna created Shiva. I'm not aware that, hence you can help. Okay, I'll be obliged. Sure, Prajay. Okay, so no more questions. So we'll close today's session. And thank you everyone for joining in today. And stay Krishna conscious throughout the week by attending all the sessions that we all organize. And see you. I hope to see you all in on next Sunday to discussing where we will try and discuss about the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.